If you're a single mom, breadwinner of the family, and you get pregnant, aren't we pushing towards more abortions? It seems like we are.
3/4 of the people surveyed recognize that having moms as the primary breadwinner is bad for kids and bad for marriage, and reality shows us that's the truth.
Some male conservatives, particularly on a certain cable news network, would appear to be harbouring a secret desire to be stripped, spanked and humiliated in public. That's a conclusion one might reach after witnessing how they've relished the negative reaction to their opinions on a new Pew poll about women in the workforce. That poll shows that women are becoming the breadwinners in their families, but also that single mothers are struggling mightily to feed, clothe and care for their children. Those findings are what caused the risible reaction that you just saw. You would think the overall negative reaction to those opinions would give these men pause to think. Yet, Red State's Eric Erickson, the second man in that clip, writes that many feminists and emo lefties have their in a wad over my statements. Indeed, it does seem they quite enjoy being whipped by women.
To ignore the fact that we have marriages breaking up, shattering in this society, and we know that that reduces by at least
Why are you attributing that to women in the workforce?
Excuse me. Let me just finish what I'm saying, if I may, O dominant one. The fact is that 3 times as many people in a single...
Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Gwen of Wisconsin, shaking her head, understandably. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Martin.
Let me read to you the reaction of Fox News' own Greta Van Susteren to the comments you just heard. Have these men lost their minds? And these are my colleagues? Oh, brother, maybe I need to have a little chat with them. Next thing, they will have a segment to discuss eliminating women's right to vote. That is a joke, ma'am, but there's a kernel of truth in that joke, isn't there?
Well, yeah, you know, I don't totally disagree with Eric Erickson. He talked about understanding the science of male-female socialization, and maybe what he ought to realize is that the biological definition of survival is to change when circumstances change. And to the extent that there are more women in the workforce, women who are becoming the primary breadwinners, maybe in some of those families where there are marriages, men need to take over some of the caretaking for the children. Because Eric Erickson commented on how families were breaking down, the children were being harmed. Maybe guys are going to have to come off the golf course or the tennis course or give up that Wednesday night poker game to help their kids with algebra.
Well,
because working women are also doing they're all primary caretakers as well as primary breadwinners.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I don't want to go into the facts like the fact that divorce is actually on the decline at the moment, because there's no point in addressing those individuals with science. But is there any empirical study that you are aware of which suggests a correlation between women in the workplace and a rise in women seeking terminations and abortions?
Well, you know, if that were the case, we wouldn't have such an increase in single female-headed households in cases where women were never wed, if those women were in fact choosing to have abortions. Women are finding themselves pregnant and alone, and they are being heroic in trying to rear those kids. And unlike the families where there are 2 parents, they are struggling. They are earning below median income, sometimes as little as $11,000, $12,000 a year. So it would seem to me that this is the best argument if we want to see families stay together, to work on programs like Head Start and continuing to provide food stamps, because these are women who are opting not to have abortions. They're opting to have these children, and they deserve societal support.
Indeed, and in the interest of complete fairness, man, we should also point out that these men that we just heard from, they represent a view of society that has, of course, successfully pushed for transvaginal probes, the cutting of food stamps, the sequester, the slashing of the provision of Head Start to something like 70,000 children.
Exactly right. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't decide that women need to stay at home, women need to not have abortions, women don't need to work, women need to provide the majority of the caretaking. It just doesn't work out with that biological, scientific view of survival. In fact, most families do need two-wage earners, and to the extent that they need two-wage earners, there needs to be shared responsibility in taking care of the household, the kids, and an alternative to abortion is certainly folk like Eric Erickson stepping up and supporting those programs that would give these kids good health care, give these kids good nutrition programs, and some support for these women who are trying very, very hard.
They are indeed. Representative Gwen Moore, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and thank you for standing up for women.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.